everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the best teams in version 2.1 of Gems of War. The three most notable things that happened between these patches is the Dragon's Claw Kingdom came out with all of its troops. Guardians ended up coming out, which are 6 unique troops that you get from guild keys only through the whole new guild system introduced in version 2.1 of the game, as well as a glitch that only PC and mobile has right now, in which hero classes actually have a lot higher stats than they should. This will be fixed after this patch and is actually exclusive only to this patch, which is kind of interesting. So that is something to factor in with these teams that we're going to be doing. Other than that, the only things that have really changed mechanic-wise or troop-wise is that there's been a lot more event troops added, as well as 2 mythics. One thing I will be doing in this best teams video is knowing that many of you do not have mythics, especially not the newer ones. I will not be showing a single team with any mythics, only legendaries and lowers. Of course, my troops will be ascended to mythic, most of them, but I will not be actually showing any of the base mythic troops in this video. So let's get into some teams then. First off, we do have a death here, so instead of going with team number 1, I did have a backup team for this. Humility is an insane troop, fully traded against things like Death, a fully traded Death, as well as anything that has poison, such as poison whenever they do skull damage, or something like Web Spinner, or Shadow Dragon, which poisons your entire team. The main reason for this is whenever he takes HP damage, he gives all allies on the team 2 armor and 2 magic. This is exceptionally good with anything that is really magic dependent. As you can see here, we're using it with something like the Crimson Bat. If you wanted to, you can also use the new Mythic of Draculus, but I find Crimson Bat just to be slightly better because Crimson Bat actually has 2 higher damage than that of Draculus. He doesn't get as much HP, but he is much better damage-wise than that of the Mythic of Draculus. Plus, it has a lower mana cost, which will make sure it can cast more. And between the Dragon Soul, which is the new Valkyrie of 2.1, explodes a bunch of gems, does a lot of damage, especially early on in the game, since it is based on the amount of dragons and not based on its magic, as well as 10 souls every single cast, regardless of its magic. So really, really good for early game players as well as Sylvain Mora has that entangle on the first troop whenever it does 4 times or higher gem matches. And we have so many dragon bonds, just being able to buff up our other dragon soul just to help it out. And just between both the huges, it'll be a very, very tanky team, even if Humility dies. And I normally use this whenever I see a Poison or Death, which is why we have it at number 0. I wasn't expecting it to be the first team, but we will use it up against this. Generally, if you do not have your Humility fully traded, you can still use it with something like Brian the Lucky. You just wouldn't use it in first slot. But if you do have it fully traded, it is the biggest Death and Poison counter in the entire game by 1.5 miles because of how much it's going to be able to magic and armor buff your team. So right here, we do want to focus on this team to be able to get our Dragon Soul or our Sylvain Mora up. We do have our banner set to +2 purple, +1 red, -1 yellow. The main reason we have -1 yellow is because our Humility might die, especially since most Humilities, people only have it at like rare or ultra rare or epic. Most people don't have it at Legend or Mythic yet, just because of how seals work in this game. It takes forever to get these things ascended, but because of that, it does tend to be a little bit weaker, so we don't really need yellows. Plus, we have our explosions between our Sylvain Mora and our Dragon Soul, which will be giving us our yellow mana on our own without even needing to directly do it. Whenever you use the Dragon Soul Sylvain Mora combo, you can use it with essentially anything. It works with pretty much any team. You do want to make sure you do not block any of their mana. You don't want to block any Dragon Soul mana, and you don't want to block any Sylvain Mora mana. This is to make sure they can keep looping as much as possible with their explosions. And generally, you do want to go to +2 purple, +1 red banner when using the Dragon Soul, just to make sure you get as much mana as possible on it. So as you can see, there are skulls right here. We can also swipe right there and still take skulls. We're going to do that, get some Sylvain Mora mana. He's going to be wasting his turn off the skulls, which he's entangled, so he does literally 0 damage. As well, as you can see, the death just triggered there every single turn. It's going to be doing 2 HP damage to our Humility, but in return, we're going to be getting 2 armor and 2 magic on every single one of our troops. Similarly, again, he is entangled. We're just going to take reds, let him take those skulls. It doesn't matter. He's going to do literally nothing with it. since he has 0 attack for the duration of the entangle. We are 1 mana short right here, which is very unfortunate. Means we won't be able to get our Dragon Soul up, so we won't be able to start looping with this team. As soon as you get either Sylvanimir or your Dragon Soul up, most likely your Dragon Soul, you'll be able to start looping like crazy. Of course, Humility is giving us a bunch of magic too. While it's not a full ratio, it is if I'm not mistaken, it's 3 plus half its magic. So half its magic is 15, plus the 3, which is 18 explosions. So a lot of explosions we're getting right there. The damage, of course, is based on the amount of dragons. It's always going to do 11 damage because obviously the boost ratio, it is a dragon itself. And there's no way to unmake it a dragon, so it's always going to do at least 11 damage. And since we have Sylvanimir, it'll be doing 14 damage. And based on just how many magic you have between Humility and other things, your Sylvanimir will be doing whatever his magic is plus 1. So a lot of damage potential right here. Plus we have the Crimson Bat, which eventually, if you get enough Humilities, or the ticks from either poison or death, you're going to have enough true damage to just one-shot the entire enemy team. So very, very powerful. As you can see right here, we're going to be doing 36 damage. Normally, whenever you cast that, you want to make sure you don't take away too many skulls, just to make sure that, or at least attempt, wherever the board falls, to be able to give the enemy a skull turn, just to make sure they don't take mana on something like a famine or some kind of other very dangerous troop. So right here, of course, we're just going to keep exploding. 23 gem explosions. That's essentially the entire board. We destroyed everything except 3 gems. And now we have something like our Crimson Bat, which is pretty much just going to team wipe right here. 44 damage, yeah. And, of course, we have a Humility up, who is magic buffing itself, too. We can give 33 to a random stat on all allies. So that, too, is just going to go up like crazy, crazy amounts. And we can just take it with an extra free turn on skulls, and we still had our 46 damage to everything, plus a buff, and it is insane. Plus, we got some souls. I didn't end up casting our Dragon Soul too many times that match, but generally in a match, you can get several casts off it, getting near or the full total of the max souls, the max soul cap per match. So that is that team. Definitely, if you can get your hands on a maxed out Humility, it is definitely worth considering. Of course, there hasn't been pure yellow in the glory shop for a little while now, but I will definitely announce the next time it occurs and remind you all to get a bunch of those because it is very, very powerful. And speaking about powerful teams, of course, Hero has ridiculously high stats. You're never going to be seeing Hero with these high of stats for pretty much ever again after this patch goes away. I have no clue exactly what they did wrong. It almost seems like whatever hero bonus you're getting from your class bonus, it's basically just doubling whatever the class bonus is. And I have no clue why the stats are so broken, but that will be fixed after version 2.1. But while we have it, we might as well utilize it. We're going to be using a Mechanist team, utilizing the Clockwork ability, which gives all mechs 50% mana from the very first turn. We're going to be able to use this with Deep Borer to be able to fill up our bomb bots, as well as our Black Manacles, and essentially 2 to 3 shot the entire enemy team. This is by far the quickest team I have found for a late game if you have very high armor. As you can see, our bomb bots are starting off between all of our mech bonuses and just how high our armor is from having every single kingdom maxed. I do have every single kingdom at 5 stars right now, if you're wondering why my stats might be higher than yours. But we get 6 armor from the mechs, plus all of its armor from being at Mythic and everything, gives it 58 armor. And of course, it's similar to Rowain. It has a 2-to-1 ratio. Rowain has a 2 times ratio, but hits every single target by 1. But Bombot is technically the same ratio, even though it's only a 2-to-1, because it hits all enemy troops. So it's technically still doing the same amount of damage if the enemy team has 4 troops. So right here, a lot of green. Unfortunately, we do not use green. If I'm not mistaken, there currently isn't a single mech in the entire game that uses green, which kind of makes sense because they are mechs. So ideally right here, we would have want to have had Deep Borer up. I am going to try for a Brown Surge right here, and I do miss it. So we are going to have to spend a turn or two trying to get up the mana that we need right here. Going to bait out those skulls. It's going to completely ignore them. We'll take the mana from right here, get a bunch. It will get some reds and yellows, but nothing too big. It will get up Valkyrie, but it's going to be distracted with those skulls. And as long as it doesn't give enough mana to either of them, we should be fine this turn. There are no skulls that it can currently take, so I think I'm going to start off with the bomb bot. Hopefully make the board in a way that he'll take skulls next turn. We do not, so okay, didn't use Valkyrie. That's really good for us. We'll be able to use Black Manacles here, or we could take mana. If we take Brown there, he will take the skulls. Normally I would want to bait out skulls just to make sure it wastes the turn, but we will not be able to do that. I'll just use a Black Manacles, and that puts it in one-shot range as long as it doesn't start looping too much with Lady or an Aerial. And it completely misses its cast. Very, very fortunate for us. Right off of here, I'll take the blues from there, hoping that he will get skulls. We do not do that, but at least it can't really do anything. It's going to hopefully take one of those 2 skulls next turn. Ideally right here, we would just want to take a brown pair. There doesn't appear to be any though. So instead, I'm just going to take off this row. I'm doing it off of this column instead of the other end column. The main reason I normally aim at one of these 2 columns is because it gives the Deep Borer, in almost all instances, the best chance to get an extra turn. I'm going to be deliberately aiming at this left column though, even though it has 1 brown instead of the other one, which has none. Normally I aim at none just so it has more of a chance, but you can see our Deep Borer, or not our Deep Borer, our Bomb Bot only needs 1 mana. So just in case we get insanely bad luck and we do not hit any browns, I'm going to use it over here just to make sure we have Bomb Bot mana. But luckily we got an extra turn and all the mana that we could possibly need, so that is an issue. We can just use Bomb Bot or Black Manacles here, and that ends the match. And you can use that essentially against every single team. Really hard counters I have found to it are Bone Dragon, Famine, the Great Maul, and essentially anything that really uses brown. Because if you miss that Deep Borer with this team, you are pretty much as good as done if the enemy team has a really good brown troop that uses a lot of mana. So just keep that in mind if you do intend to use that team. But let's go forward now with team number 2, the All Dragon team. Dragon Egg, very, very powerful. All Dragon teams in general, very, very powerful now that the Dragon's Claw Kingdom came into this game. With all of the entire kingdom, every single troop in that kingdom is a dragon. So there are a lot of things that you can utilize with it. As far as late game builds are concerned, I have found this to be the absolute best you can possibly do. Earlier on, you'd probably go something with Baby Dragon, Dragon Egg, Dragon Rogue, Draconian Rogue, and the Dragon Centaur thing. I forget what it's called. That's essentially what you'd build for early game. And I've seen actually quite a few people building it, and it seems to be pretty good, given that the Dragon Tar thing, whatever it's called, has a 2x ratio, and the Dragonian Rogue has a 3x ratio. But as far as with this team, we are using the same thing as you saw with the Humility team, the Dragon Soul Salvani Mora combo, a very, very, very strong combo. Of course, we have the double purple red banner just to make sure we can get it up quicker. And with the same thing, both of these have enough explosions that we don't really have to deal with the -1 yellow. If you really wanted to, another way you can play this team is to go just a red purple banner instead of the double, and use your Celestasia on the Dragon Eggs just so you can fill up both of them. Because if you aim it at Dragon Eggs, it creates 8 gems of a chosen ally's mana color, but you don't actually get to choose the mana color. It does it at random based on whatever the troop has, and since the Dragon Eggs only has yellow, you would have a 100% chance of spawning 8 yellow gems if you were to do it that way. But with this team, with how I currently have the banner set, the strategy with it is to use Celestasia on the Dragon Soul. You have bonus on both the reds and the purple, so that will get up your Dragon Soul pretty much instantly, and you just keep looping with the same general premise of the previous team of Humility. Just keep looping the Dragon Soul and the Salvani Mora. And unlike the other team, since we don't have Humility constantly boosting up our magic, we will likely get near, pretty close to getting the max soul per match with this team. So right here, I'm actually going to bait out the skulls. You might get some purple from it as well, but I'm not too worried about that. As you can see, we also got the shield from the 4 times that we did earlier on in this match. Just going to keep taking every single mana that's going to be getting up our Salvani Mora and or our Dragon Soul, particularly our Dragon Soul, because we are, with this banner set, we are focused primarily on getting the Dragon Soul up. Plus it has a 1 lower mana cast and generally will generate more mana than that of Salvani Mora. So right here, really good shuffle. He's going to be, or actually not too good for shuffle. I didn't see that extra turn there. So he's going to get quite a bit out of this. But luckily it is going to waste its turn off of that 1 skull. So a little bit of adversity right here. But luckily we'll be able to get plenty of mana right here. This team does not have a cleanse, which is one bit of a fault that it does have, but we will be able to still do plenty of damage even without our extra turns or anything like that. Or actually I shouldn't say that. We don't have an all cleanse. We do have a cleanse off of Celestasia, but it's only a single cleanse, which we will likely use on our Dragon Soul as... Oops. I should have probably used it there. That's me, as always, not paying attention to the fact that I am frozen. So right here, I actually lied. We're not going to use on the Dragon Soul. It just got uncleansed. So we're going to use it right there. Get both of our mana right up. We'll be able to use our Dragon Soul right there. And then follow up with Sylvania Moore, depending on the board. As you can see, we keep getting extra turns, which gives our shield onto our Celestasia if we have it fully traded. Anytime it takes 4 times or higher, it's gaining a barrier, which will negate 1 full instance of damage. It does not negate a full skull spam though, but anytime it takes any singular instance of damage, it'll block that full instance. Poison counters it pretty hard, but of course it can just cleanse itself off if it really needs to take off something like poison. So as you can see, we still have the Entangle down. We do 20 damage per the Dragon Soul cast, since we do have 4 dragons on the team. If our Celestasia was somehow to die from some kind of freak accident with this team, we do have the Dragon Egg, which will be able to create a baby dragon there, which will then be able to transform into any dragon. And with our mana generation that we have between our Dragon Soul and our Sylvania Mora, we'll easily be able to get whatever that is, regardless of its color, a bunch of mana that it needs. And you essentially just keep looping this. You get the max souls per match from your Dragon Soul, and you just keep going with that. Like I said, you do want to make sure you use your Sylvania Mora in a location where you'll try to bait out skulls. As you can see, I did it there, knowing that those 2 skulls were there, hoping that a skull would drop down, and we were lucky enough to actually get that. And then we can just use our Dragon Soul, and anything we do at this point will end the match. We weren't lucky enough to get an extra turn, but literally any damage at this point will end it. We can just take reds, we can take skulls, we can do pretty much anything here. I am going to use our Dragon Soul real quick. That's why I took the reds, just to be able to get those extra souls. And I believe we have gotten the max capacity for the match with the Dragon Soul for the souls. So let's just double check. If we got 110, yep. We got the max possible souls of 40 plus all of our bonuses for the match from using our Dragon Soul 4 times. So very powerful. You can even see, even with the end of the match, we still had mana on everything. We had barrier on our Celestasia, so it ended up working very, very well for us. So let's keep going with the rest of the teams for 2.1, and there we go with a defend victory. I still have my defend team set to the most trollish thing possible, which is my loved Bombot team. I use that team too much. I really enjoy using that team. For some of you with lower armor, it might not be as good, especially since a lot of you probably didn't waste your glory to upgrade your Bombot. But whenever that Bombot does come into the chest pool, I will definitely make sure to let you guys know. Next up, we will be needing a class change. I will be switching classes a couple times. Like I said, classes and hero in general are very, very powerful in this patch, mainly because of the current glitch with them. All of these teams would still work even without the glitch, but of course with the glitch they're even more powerful than they should be. So right here we are going to switch over to Archer. I'm going to be switching one more time into a different class after we do this battle. But for this one, we will be needing the Archer. The main reason for this is Archer starts off with 50% mana, as well as has the Bullseye ability, which whenever it does skull damage, it has a 15% chance to do lethal. And this is per skull pair. So every single skull pair you take that are separated on the board, like they aren't matched at all, like you take a 3 pair and then another 3 pair and like a 4 pair somewhere else, it'll trigger that per instance. You have a 50% chance per instance that isn't connected. If you happen to get like a full blob of skulls, you get like 20 skulls all connected to each other and none of them are separated, it'll only trigger this instance once. So you don't want to get too huge of a skull spawn, but you do want to get enough that you trigger it or try triggering it multiple times. Archer class is by far the most versatile class in the entire game, simply because it can get 50% mana on any weapon. So even if the weapon doesn't use magic particularly, it will you'll still be able to get the mana up quicker. Plus it has the Bullseye, which is just an insanely high 15% chance per skull match to be able to get instant kill, which is very, very nice. That used to be what the Great Maul was, except it also had Devour. But now you can do the same thing, just use it with the fully traded Archer class. Plus, this week, in particular on PC and mobile, with the new troop that came out from Pran's Veil, you could actually get the Archer class upgraded this week. So, with this, the main premise of this team, we're going to be using Cauldron. It doubles an ally's attack. We're going to be, of course, using that on our hero. We'll be getting 60 attack. Of course, your attack might be relatively lower, especially after this glitch is fixed for this patch. But still, that is an insane amount of attack. Plus, we're going to be gaining a huge amount of life as well. Essentially, we're just going to be using Valkyrie for the soul farm. It'll fill up Apothecary. We can use that to fill up both the Cauldron and Bone Dragon, and just keep spamming our Cauldron and Bone Dragon until we essentially win the match. Even against something like Stone Skin, we barely even have to worry about that. We're going to be getting quite a bit of skull spam, so it won't even matter. We also set our banner to brown yellow. The yellow is to make sure we can get Valkyrie up in 2 turns. The brown is to make sure our Apothecary can give us a good number of mana on both our Cauldron and our Bone Dragon. It also helps to make sure we can get our Cauldron up in 2 turns if we get a surge on one of the 2 matches. So right here, we are going to let it take skulls, despite this team being a skull spam team. We don't really have to worry too much when we first start off the match for skulls. I'd rather him just take the skulls now, make sure he doesn't get that mercy cast off, and just start to stack up our mana for later on in this game. I'm actually trying to get a purple match right now so we can get Bone Dragon up with a surge, but I don't believe we are going to be able to get that before it actually does anything. So I'm going to keep taking yellows. I'm going to make sure making sure he takes skulls, and I'm making sure we can get as much mana as we can before his team really starts getting operational. So right here, we'll convert out the reds. Of course, the main color we need for Valkyrie, especially since he has a mercy, is just yellow. We have our banner set to it, plus his mercy is actually going to be assisting us quite a bit. We got pretty lucky. There's skulls just laying right there. In this particular instance, I don't know if I want to do purple or blue. I'm actually thinking about doing it on blue right here, even though that's going to be denying our Valkyrie. It's going to fill up our Cauldron. It's going to fill up our Bone Dragon. We're even going to get some extra skulls. We didn't get the Archer thing off, though, but we'll be able to get Valkyrie mana right there. We already have Apothecary up from all of the drops. It's just going everywhere on the board. Too much mana that we don't even need. If we could get a red right there, oh, that would have been perfect. Oh, yeah, we can. We just got every single ability back up. So right here, all we really have to do is use Bone Dragon and just start tearing through his team like crazy. So before I do, I am going to use 1 Cauldron cast just to make sure we buff up. I believe he's going to miss his Mercy cast. Yes, he is. I actually didn't check that before using that. I probably should have. Luckily, it's not going to do anything. Actually, just going to give us mana for our Valkyrie. So we'll just take that, take that. We didn't get the lethal. And sometimes it feels like it never triggers. Other times you could just one-shot the entire enemy team 4 times. So it can be pretty random. Of course, 15% chance isn't a particularly high chance. But when you do something like this with Bone Dragon, it is a very, very high chance. Like right there, you saw we just did Bullseye. He could have been a Gorgotha and we still would have killed that with 75% skull reduction, because Bullseye is an instant kill. Impervious does not stop it. Nothing stops it. So very, very powerful. Right here, we could use it on greens. I don't believe we'd be giving him an extra turn. We really don't need it, though. I'd rather try getting an Apothecary up somewheres, which also does not seem to be possible. We could use it on green, but I don't believe it's going to give us an extra turn. But like I said, we might as well just bait out the skulls. Not too big a deal if we let him take skulls. So let's see. Yeah, he'll just take a pair of skulls right there. We can use Cauldron if we want. We do not have Bone Dragon back up, so hopefully we can get that up with a Surge or something. We can just take these skulls. That, of course, is plenty enough damage because of Cauldron to be able to one-shot it out. We did not get a Surge there, so we do have Bone Dragon to deal with. That Black Manacles can actually kill us. So luckily, we did get our Bone Dragon up just in time. We'll be able to get a huge, huge cast off right there. We didn't actually get a Bullseye on that, but of course, with all the skull damage we have, that didn't matter at all. And all we have to do now is take a skull pair. That's exactly enough damage because of our attack to be able to kill it out. And like you saw right there, we have the Greed on the Apothecary for a little bit of extra gold, plus our Necromancy on our Valkyrie, plus the souls generated generally from our Valkyrie to help us out. Our Apothecary, even though it wasn't really applicable for that team, also has a full cleanse to our team. So even if we were to get entangled, even if we were to get frozen, any status effects wouldn't have been any big deal, since we could have just taken it right off. So to the next team. Aw, lose. Yeah, defend. It's almost pointless trying to set an insane defend team, mostly because just about everything loses. Oh, Manticores. Manticores are insanely annoying. And on top of that, we are using a very, very bad team against a Bone Dragon. Very scary stuff to be doing this, but I think I'm still going to do it and hopefully prove the point of how ridiculously tanky Honor is. Honor has the high, if you have Honor fully traded, Honor has the highest stats of any troop in the entire game, period. It gives its legendary last trait gives 10 to all stats whenever using it in PvP. Plus, it even gains an additional 2 from its own trait. So it's gaining 12 extra HP plus 10 to all of its other stats whenever fighting in a PvP battle, which is an insanely large buff, bigger than any other troop in the entire game. And it has Stone Skin, making it the second most skull-resistant troop in the entire game, only behind that of Gorgotha. And technically, if it gets stunned out, Honor is tankier than a stunned Gorgotha, so technically, Honor can be the tankiest skull-resistant troop, and just the damage-resistant troop in general in the entire game. So, a very large utility it has in PvP, if you can get it fully traded like that. Non-fully traded, you'd pretty much exclusively use it as we're using it right now as a Rowani buffer, which of course, if it's traded, it still works as a Rowain buffer. So right here, we're going to bait out the skulls. Of course, we want him to take as many skulls as possible. If we do not bait him out with skulls, he's just going to drain us with those mana cores like crazy. And we're also going to be making sure he wastes his turns whenever he uses mana cores. Because, of course, if he's using his cast on to do a mana core, he's not doing any board manipulation. Plus, he's not doing really anything. So he's just going to be wasting our turn, draining out our mana. So right here, we'll bait out the skulls. We'll be able to get a Rowain cast. He is going to stun out the second Rowain, but not too big a deal. Skulls did not align in any way that will be able to stop him. So yeah, we'll just use one Rowain right here, just get a little bit out, and then we'll start getting our Valkyrie and or our Honor bonus or mana up as much as we can. Right here, I think I am going to lean to Valkyrie. The main reason being, if I took Honor right here, he will stun our Honor, and I do not want him stunning our Stone Skin. In case he does get his Bone Dragon up, we will need that Stone Skin to survive, or else he is just going to tear straight through our team like it is nothing. So right there, we are going to take it for the Reds. He's going to waste his turn on Skulls as well. We do not use purple with this team, which isn't too big a deal. You can just use Valkyrie, convert it out whenever you need, like that, and there you go. Also, if your enemy team happens to be using something like a Mercy, which is fairly popular later on in the game, it'll just be able to deny it out that way. So even though it has a Bone Dragon, which is easily the hardest counter to this game, or hardest counter to this team in the entire game, it's actually working. It's actually not doing that much because we keep baiting it out with Skulls, and it's wasting its turn with Mana Cores. So right there, of course, it's just going to take Skulls again. It is going to get that Deep Borer up. We will likely be seeing that Bone Dragon cast if this does not kill, but I believe that's enough damage to team wipe, and it is. So we managed to win that match without it ever using a Bone Dragon, without it ever using Deep Borer, just by baiting it out, by making it waste its mana cores, and using our Honor as an insanely huge tank. Arguably the tankiest troop in the entire game, definitely the second tankiest troop in the entire game. Only one that you could arguably be tankier, of course, is Gorgotha. So let's go to, I believe, our final team. Yes, number 5. And against a very annoying team at that, we're going to be needing a class switch once again. We're going to be switching over to the Assassin class, similar to the Archer class in that it has a instant lethal. It does have it at a lower percent, but it has a better positioning on it. Instead of being able to instantly kill the first troop, it has a chance to instantly kill the last troop in the enemy team. We'll show that in one second here. We're going to be doing it with the new Courage, as well as I believe Apothecary came in between these patches, which is why I'm showing quite a few teams with her. But Courage, very, very powerful legendary trait, even if you didn't have the legendary trait, but particularly with the legendary trait, every single skull pair you take, you're going to be giving 3 attack and 3 life to all allies, including itself, which is insanely powerful. Similar to what I said with lethal, as well as how Assassinate behaves, and pretty much everything like this, it triggers per skull pair and does not trigger based on bunches. Like if you get a bunch of 25 skulls, it's only going to trigger once. If you get a couple bunches of like a 3-pair or 4-pair and another 3-pair and another 3-pair somewhere else, it's going to trigger per instance of those pairs. But if you bunch them up, it's not going to be triggering it multiple times. So you want to get like a mid-range skull spam. Luckily, pretty much any skull spammer will naturally do that. Bone Dragon normally actually spawns this late in the game, ends up spawning too many skulls. So sometimes you might want to actually target something that has slightly lower armor just to make sure you don't create too many. But with this team, essentially, we're just going to be using the assassinate, 10% chance to assassinate the last enemy when it deals skull damage. So we're going to be basically taking on the team similar to how a Knight Coronet takes on the team from the front and back at the same exact time. So our assassinates will be taking out our back, our skull spam will be taking out our front. One slight disadvantage that this team does have, of course, one is it doesn't use yellow. The second is we are not actually having anything that targets. Crude Club cannot target. Everything that we're doing is just skull spam. One thing that you can do to switch this up is you could use a hero weapon like the Assassin Class's 250 weapon, which has a 10% chance to kill enemies, as well as a 20% chance to kill poison enemies. I do not use it though. I tend to use this team with Crude Club, the main reason being it has insanely good value for only 4 mana, plus the fact that it is only 4 mana makes sure it does not block our courage heftily. We'll still be able to get our courage up fairly easily. We're only blocking it with 4, of course. Crude Club is the lowest mana cost weapon in the entire game, and we do have our banner set to +1 red, +2 purple, -1 yellow. We don't have any yellow, so that yellow minus is irrelevant. And since we have that +1 red, even if we don't get a mana surge, we will be getting our heroes Crude Club up every single time, and we'll be able to get that insane damage up. I think what were we doing, like 32 damage with our Crude Club right there? That is 31 damage. That is some insane value for only 4 mana. So like right here, we could take those reds. I am prioritizing more on our Bone Dragon though. So we do have to give it some greens, but we do get our Bone Dragon and our Crude Club out of it. Of course, Crude Club, I tend to never really use it. I just save it for when I need a waste a turn, for when the board isn't looking that nice for us. I just put in the Crude Club and that'll fix it for us. So right here, the skull spam should be enough to be able to take out the... Oh, we're frozen and I wasn't paying attention. Well, that wasn't enough to take it out. If we needed to, one thing that we could do is use the Crude Club. Really good against Gorgotha since it is not blocked by the resistance. Good against Stone Skin too, since we could just use it if our damage or if our attack was lower and the Stone Skin is resisting it enough that a Skull Pair would not kill it. We could just use the Crude Club. But since this will be enough damage, I'm not going to bother using the Crude Club. We're just going to take the skulls. Was hoping for a 10% to be able to take out the famine. Of course, we were not lucky enough to get it, but we do get to cleanse. Even if we didn't, we had Apothecary, and we could have just cleansed it off with that, which would have been sufficient as well for just being able to get it off. Right here, we will be using our purple. That won't be enough mana unless we get a good Cascade. And we did not get a good Cascade, so we'll just have to look around for mana. I do not see any extra turns, so we'll just have to take it right there. Hope for a Brown Surge. We do get it. He'll waste his turn on skulls, and now we can just keep using the Bone Dragon. Similar to, like I said before, I tend to... Well, two things with Bone Dragon with my strategy of using it. Normally, I do it down the line. Like, the next one in line, I'll tend to use it on to just keep doing it down just to make sure I don't use up all their armor. Another reason, I don't tend to always aim at the highest armor for when using teams like this for the reasons I already mentioned. We'll be able to trigger out Courage and or Assassinate more if we do it on a mid-range armor than we will if we do it on something with a huge armor like something like Famine. So we'll just use that right there. As you can see, we have 3 separate skull pairs right there. We were unable to get the Assassinate to trigger. I think we might go this entire match without getting a single Assassinate. That does happen sometimes. Similar to, like I said, with Bullseye. It either feels like it never happens or it happens almost every single time. That tends to be how it tends to fall. So right here, we'll be able to get another Bone Dragon. Oh, we are 1 mana short. How unfortunate. Well, we'll be able to take that. We were unable still to get an Assassinate off. That is amazing. Very bad luck. But, of course, we don't even need to Assassinate 1 Bone Dragon. I guess that's kind of to show that you don't need traits on it even. Well, I guess Courage kind of helped it trait-wise, but we didn't get a single Assassinate off. Of course, if we could have easily won that match, even without any Assassinates. It just helps to speed up the efficiency of the match. But anyways, that will do it for this video. I will be doing another video of 2.05 for the console update that just occurred the other day. I will probably do that later today. So definitely look out for that. If you have any other really strong team suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, because I'm pretty sure others would love to hear them. Of course, this is by no means every single team that is good in the meta right now. I just like showing with these videos of best of version videos to show the kind of teams that were possible now that all of the different troops and mechanics and changes that have happened between patches have occurred. So I like to focus more on the changes rather than going over things that are already in the team. Like you can see, I didn't show a single team with Corvash. Obviously, Corvash is a very, very strong troop, but I've already showed so many teams with Corvash, and will be again in the 2.05 one for consoles, because consoles has got Corvash. Anyways, that'll wrap it up for this video. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.